Hello, everybody. It is Straight Talk Food for the Soul. And we have a returning guest tonight, Mr. Marcus Norman, my friend, and such a smart guy. Such a smart guy. And I just told him before I told y'all, he got a sexy mind. And I was just letting him know how I felt about his mind. So after I done told on myself, something is you hear stuff? Hold on, y'all. Don't leave. I'm not even in my regular studio. Y'all hold on. I'm coming, y'all.
Baking cookies.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I am back. Don't you just love technology? One of my other devices was going on, and I couldn't stop it. Well, tonight, Mr. Marcus Norman, if you would pray us in, we're gonna get started.
Absolutely. Father God, we thank you for blessing us and watching over us. This is the season. The reason for the season is you, and we are here in honor to honor you, to glorify you, and to lift up your holy name. Where we be vessels and examples to your word, and everything that we do, may our steps be ever a delight, and may we smell good always in your presence. We'll pray for not only ourselves, but our family, our friends, our loved ones near and far, and everyone that we hold dear to us, because we need you, Father God. These are tumultuous times, and we need you now more than ever after the crazy pandemic and weeks and months and days that we have. 2023 is over. May you see us through to the upcoming year in Jesus' heavenly name. Amen.
Amen. First thing, I just saw something where you did something new. You got a new business. You were putting, because see, I know you because I follow you like a little stalker. But they don't know. Tell us, you got a podcast. Come on, tell the people a little bit about you so they don't know who you are.
Well, first, thank you for having me again. Thank you for inviting me back onto your incredible show. I enjoy being here and having these talking points. I am a multi entrepreneur. I'm a real estate investor, ATM investor, and what uh, Miss Miss Hutchinson explained is I just launched my second cannabis dispensary location, and so it is the second location. I have been invested in the cannabis dispensary business, CBD, um, for over going on 2 years now. And I'm launching and opening up a second location to help people. Cannabis, the products that I sell in my business are to help people, right? It's not the traditional norm of, I'm gonna get you high. If you find me, if you find me or find any of these locations, they are to help people. And as a Christian, I had to pray about it before investing in this new venture because I wanted to make sure that I'm always aligned with our Heavenly Father. And what I do is really incredible and it helps people. It helps people who deal with anxiety, stress, um, sleep deprivation, insomnia, pain relief. And I'm now looking into products that help with neuropathy. That is a pain point for a lot of people. And
Yes.
so CBD and the products that I sell can I'm looking into products that can help people manage that pain and that tingling and that sensation a little bit better and make life more tolerable. So that's overall of what I do. And thank you so much for supporting me and loving on me and the things that I'm doing. So I appreciate
And I love on you because during the pandemic, you were really sick.
you. Yeah, I was. I
And I know,
was.
yeah, tell us, come on. Because you know I know.
I was so towards the end of the pandemic, came down with COVID, and I came down with this strain of COVID that attacks the lungs very violently, and so your lungs, my lungs, shrunk down to the size of a golf ball, and the doctors, I had three doctors, and I was hospitalized for a month and a half, and I almost didn't make it. And so no October, November, December time frame is my anniversary. month of living because I almost wasn't here, right? COVID almost took me out and I was hospitalized by myself because I'm from the Caribbean. As you know, I'm from the Virgin Islands. And so COVID was a very unique experience because, when you have family and friends and loved ones that care about you, they can't come to see you. So it's not advantageous for my family who loves me dearly to come and see their hospitalized son when your parents are elderly because now they are at risk and I'm putting them at risk subliminally, right? And not intentionally, but I'm putting them at risk. So what do you do as a parent, right? Do you visit your sick son in the hospital or do you keep your distance and make sure that, you check on him, you make sure he's okay. So that was a unique experience because I was alone. I was alone hospital for a month and a half and no one could come see me. And so I'm back, I'm here, and I survived it. And I use that as a catalyst to kind of give back and love on people and learn and grow because tomorrow isn't promised.
I'm so glad now they know what I know about the amazing Norman Marcus. So we are going to jump into our topic tonight because when we talked about this months ago when you were on and you were talking about prenups and I couldn't start the conversation then because we were ending the episode. But the very first thing that occurred to me, if I get a prenup before I get married, because this is something you do before, am I automatically telling my significant other, I don't trust you? That's just where my mind went. So help me with my thought process.
So that's a great point. I think a lot of us, including myself, right? I used to think the exact same way. Um, until I interviewed on my podcast. You mentioned the podcast, so I interviewed an actual attorney, a practicing lawyer that specializes in family law, and she specializes in divorces. And so she was the one that kind of started the catalyst of reevaluating what a prenuptial is. And so what has happened is the media has put in our mind that prenuptial agreements are these negative things, these negative, things that are out there to cause us harm. But it's not that. It's not television. Prenuptial agreements, a well-designed prenuptial agreement benefits both parties. And we see examples of these, but they don't get very much highlight because what sells in the media, the negativity. And so what you don't see is the benefits of a prenuptial agreement. And I think, and I have now realized that a prenuptial agreement removes all of the things that we typically have issues with because we've talked about them at the forefront. That's number one. We're talking about things in the forefront and bringing them to light because you were an individual before I met you. And so you have wants and desires and things that you want to protect. You have an interest that you want to protect before you even met me. And so a prenuptial agreement, right? If I bring it up to you and I say, Miss Hutchinson, baby girl, let's say we're together. Miss Hutchinson, I love you, girl. You have things that you want to protect. Is there anything that's significant to you that if you and I don't work, you would still like to ensure that it still remains and still continues on, whether you and I continue on? And at the most part, I would imagine you would jump to the kids. Your kids, the children that you had before me, that were here before me, you have a vested interest in that. And so you would say that in the beginning, right? You would say, I would like to make sure that my kids are taken care of and that, college is paid for and that they go on to live healthy and productive lives. Well, that's a fair request. And so if you say that to me in the beginning, now we are on one accord. And now we can talk about what that actually looks like. Okay, let's make that happen because I want to protect your interests as well as mine. And so now you and I have come to a conclusion or an agreement that is mutually beneficial to both of us, and say, okay, your son, your daughter, let's make sure that there's $100,000 for each of them to go to college. And this is the money that I'm going to set aside to make sure that even if you and I don't work out, they're still going to college. That's an interest that you have. And it doesn't hurt me to do that because I said I love you, right? But also, if we talk about this and we find that our interests don't align, and that I say, I don't know them kids, I don't love them kids, I don't have an interest in those kids, then that also shows you something about me. And it says that, and you don't want to find out this in the beginning or the middle of your marriage. You don't want to find this out 10 years down the road, that I have no particular interest or investment into you, right? You want to know this up front. And so that's what a well thought out, well designed prenuptial agreement does. It removes the things that are typically the precursors to the end of a relationship, and it brings them to the forefront, and it causes us to align early on. And so I would say that to you to help you shift your thinking, and it allows us to focus on just the love. Because if we can remove the money, the sex, the childcare, the retirement plan, if we can eliminate those things in the beginning, the only thing left is for us to focus on loving each other correctly. And so that's important.
I'm listening. I'm digesting. Hello, everybody that's popping on. How are you? Love y'all. Love y'all. Okay. We get together. We don't have anything. My husband, you.
Yeah.
But you know you're aspiring to be great. Wants to have a prenuptial agreement set out. And we're starting out together. How am I to feel about that? Because for women, that's a feeling. And I'm holding a piece of paper. That's that's a feeling. I'm waiting for my mind to shift, because I believe in legal documents. We have businesses. I have children. My podcast, I'm speaking this. And Marcus, you're going to help me. We're going to get this picked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
going to have some sponsors this coming year, 2024. And I'm looking to leave a legacy for my children prior to my husband that's coming. Right. But me and you starting out on the same plane. Right. And then I come to you, honey, I know you're going to be great, but I think we should do a prenup. Mm-hmm. And neither one of us have anything. Mm-hmm. What's that about?
That's a great place to start, because we both have nothing, we can still talk about what our intentions are. There's a planning process to this, right? And so there's a discussion to be had. A prenup forces you to have the conversation that we often don't have in premarital counseling or between one another. It forces you to lay everything out on the table. And the other thing that people don't realize is a prenup can be overruled by a judge. A prenuptial agreement can be overruled by a judge if it's deemed not beneficial, right? And so a prenup has to be bulletproof, right? It can't be, you can't have someone sign a prenuptial agreement under duress. Hey, I'm homeless, I need a place to live, let's go sign this prenup. A prenup has to be bulletproof, and it has to be beneficial, or a judge can overrule the prenup because it's toxic. This person signed when they were homeless, they didn't have any money, you took advantage of this person. A judge can override a prenup. So it has to be bulletproof, but it has to be done with the love and the care and the nurturing in mind, right? Or else that will come into question later on. So if you and I have nothing in the beginning, then we get to talk about something that I enjoy talking about, which is our future. And it allows us to dream and to plan and to vision. Well, where do you want to go? Because if you're starting from nothing and I'm starting from nothing, the only place left is up. So what do you want? What does Miss Hutchison want to achieve? Let's protect that, right? If you want to go into ministry full time, then that's something you want to do that we can protect today. That's something you want to do. So let's protect it. Let's make sure this happens no matter what. No matter the dissolution of the marriage, if I prematurely die, we protect everything else. We protect our cars with auto insurance. We protect our lives with life insurance, but we don't protect the other things in life that are important to us. Our kids, our you protect your home with homeowners insurance, renters insurance. We protect everything else, but we don't protect what's important, which is you and me. And so let's talk about that.
I don't know why you make this sound so sexy. Like I should just run out right now and get a lawyer. Like, and Kyra is saying, look at Jessica Simpson and Nick and their situation with the prenup. And she says she loves the topic. That is the whole purpose of Straight Talk, to bring out stuff mostly that church people don't talk about.
No.
We don't have these conversations because we go in thinking, when I got married, he loves me. He's never going to leave. And I'm going to tell you, my second marriage, I was left with $20,000 worth of bills. And because everything was in my name, the only thing that the judge made him pay was half of a light bill.
Ouch.
Of $700. And he didn't pay it. And when I moved and I went to go get my electricity come on, it jumped up in the system. And they said, you owe this before we can cut your utilities on.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the reason why I think this is a good topic, because love is beautiful. Yeah. But stuff in print is wonderful, I think, now.
It is.
It's sad that we have to go there, but I guess we do.
So Ms. Shackelford brings up the great point of Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey, right? But look, let's go even bigger. Look at Jeff Bezos and his ex-wife, recently divorced. They're not hurting. They're not struggling. Neither one is struggling. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, she just donated $3.3 million to a charity of her choice, right? Nobody's miserable. Nobody's dealing with light bills. Nobody's struggling after the divorce. That is a well-designed prenuptial agreement, but it didn't get much media attention because it's not negative, right? We hear about the Tyrese Gibson and his marriage, right? Because that's a whole mess, right? I wants this, she wants this. That's not well done. That was not a well thought out prenuptial agreement. And so but the media will highlight that. Marriage, having a prenuptial agreement up front, allows you to focus on the love. It removes everything, every other question, but it also requires you and I to be vulnerable, right? I have to be upfront. I have to tell you, I have to disclose to you what I'm doing and what my aspirations are, what I have. And that's important, but we should be doing those things anyway. I should know your credit score before we get married. Why aren't we talking about this? I hear about too many couples that go into marriage not knowing their partner's status, and then they end up trying to buy a house and they get declined. Why didn't you have that conversation early? A prenup forces you to disclose who you are up front.
I have somebody on. He said, who is the guest speaker? His name is Marcus Norman. He is the creator and founder of the Gentleman Style Podcast. He's a real estate investor. That's who he is. And by the way, an amazing human.
Thank you.
A giving human who helps the community. Our community. Love everybody. Thank you for coming on. Question.
Yes.
How does a prenup work for a mom who's been a stay-at-home mom, taking care of the kids? The husband is only one that has ever worked outside the home. Children grow up. She doesn't have any skills. How does a prenup help her?
So a prenup will help her because I can protect that interest. If her desire is to go back to school, and I've seen this happen, if her desire is to go back to school, let's talk about that. And so now, if you and I dissolve, And let me state this first, right? This should be done with a heart. We should be going into a prenuptial agreement with an open heart to love and to nurture and to care for our partners. Again, the media is going to highlight the negativity. That's not the mindset or the heart or the steward that we should be going in as men to these prenuptial agreements. I want to make sure that Miss Hutchison survives me and does well after I, even if I'm not here. I want you to thrive. I want you to do well. I don't want you to be hungry. I don't want you to be starving. I want you to thrive. And if your desire is to be continue to be a stay-home mom, then I should have an invested interest in that to protect that for you. And so men should go in with the mindset of how do I protect my spouse and keep me safe at the same time? And if you have two people, too many times we enter relationships, right? We enter relationships with the mindset of what can I take from this? What can I learn from this person? What can I take away from this connection? But I think that doesn't work, right? What we should be going into a relationship with is we should be going in with the mindset of what can I do for each other? When you have two people that are solely focused on doing for one another, you have a much longer, stronger relationship because every day you're waking up with a heart of service. You're waking up with the heart and nature to protect. And so I want to protect my spouse, who is a stay at home mom and hasn't been working in years. And so I want to make sure that that sustains. Well, where is she going to live? Do you want to stay here? If we buy a house together, do you want to stay in that house or would you like to move? Oh, I would like to move. Okay, perfect. Where would you like to stay? In area or out of area? Where would you like to go to school at to get some skills? What would you like to study? The prenuptial agreement forces me to ask you these questions so I can protect it as your husband. And as a husband, it's my duty and responsibility to care for you. I just watched an incredible movie, um, Napoleon. If you've ever seen it or don't know anything about it, he was a war hero. He was a war veteran, but he got married. And in his duration of the movie, it shows his rise to kingship and then his fall to fall to fame all the way up till he died. He got married in that transition, but when he got divorced, he didn't just kick his wife to the curb. He divorced his wife, but she made sure she had housing, she had servants, she had a place to live, and that she was cared for. She had plenty of money to provide for her. Mind you, they are separated. He's still calling on her, checking on her, making sure she has everything she needs long after the marriage is dissolved, because that was his obligation. That was his responsibility to make sure that you're okay. And so he built an he had a house for her after their divorce, and she moved in and she lived there up until the day she died. That's what a heart of a servant is, right? And so we shouldn't be going into these arrangements. We shouldn't even be getting married if my heart isn't to serve, right? We should be connecting and looking out for one another. And my job is to care for you long after I am not here. And this may sound cliche. Well, we drop the ball as human beings, as individuals, all the time. We drop the ball often when it comes to these types of things and being good stewards to our families. I have a background in finance. I come from finance. I sold everything from life insurance, auto insurance, bank products, financial services, investments, all of it. And so one of the things that always used to hurt my heart is I would find the husband just passed away and the wife is coming in with a stack of papers this big because she doesn't know she has a bank account. She has access to the bank account and she sees all these deposits coming in, but she doesn't know where it's coming from or who, what business, what retirement. She doesn't know anything. That husband has failed his wife because while he was alive, he never protected her and educated her and stimulated her to ensure that she can endure long after he's gone. And so this wife is coming to me with a stack of bank statements and papers that she has no clue where they're from or who they're about, where the life insurance is. That man has failed his family. And I'm sorry to be talking about the deceased, but that is a failure on his part, right? Men need to step forward and ensure that their family's legacy survives long after I am not here. If my wife falls to record after I am gone, I have failed my family. And that's everybody talks about it, right? Everybody talks about legacy building and wealth generation. If your kids, if you die today as a parent and your child falls to a shelter and falls into the care of the states and the government, you have failed your family. You have not prepared your children for your demise, which is going to happen. It may be tomorrow, maybe next week. If your children cannot stand, one of the proudest things, this is my last point, I'm sorry.
Oh,
One of
you're
the
not
things
sorry. Keep going. You're fine. You're fine.
one of the most powerful things my father said to me when I grew up. I grew up, became a man, joined the military, bought my own home, invested, and before all the things that I did, my father came to me and he stayed in my home. And he said to me, son, you were the one child I didn't have to worry about.
Mm.
I am one of seven. Right. So he said to me, he's like, son, you're the one child that I knew was going to be okay. And that made me feel all kinds of legacy, all kinds of joy to know that my father knew that when I left the nest, I was going to be okay. There's not too many people. I bump into kids all the time. I meet grown men don't have driver's license. I meet grown men that don't have a car. Cannot stand. And mom and dad is no longer in the picture. They're not strong enough. They're not capable enough. That is a failure on our part. And so I take I know we're talking about prenups, but I take the entire scope of legacy building full circle. And it starts with prenups.
And I'm just wondering, because you weren't born here.
Mhm. Correct.
You weren't born here. Tell them where you were born.
I was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands. There's a small island called St. Croix. The island is so small. To give you an idea, there's two high schools and one university. And so that's how small. There's only two cities on my entire island. And so that's how small my island from. That's where I grew up in the Virgin Islands. It's near Puerto Rico, if you want kind of like a geographic. Because if you look for my island on a map, you won't see it. It's too small. But if you look for Puerto Rico, you're in the ballpark. You're close.
You might be my cousin. You know my family is from there.
Oh my God. Don't. Oh my God. We just talked about I just talked about this on my page. Oh my God. Couple been married 10 years. Find out their brothers.
Yes.
Oh my God.
My maiden name is Mulgrave. Mullgrav. And
Okay.
that is where my grandparents are from.
I'm gonna need you to spit in this ancestry.com tube so we can get this mailed off and check.
Oh my God. Yeah, we just talking to each other. We're friends. You've answered a lot of questions. You said a prenup should be bulletproof.
Yes.
My question is, when a prenup is written up, should the other person get their own lawyer to look over the prenup?
Absolutely. 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 The terminology that's used, the jargon that's used, the slangs, the big words, you should absolutely have your own attorney to look over. If I'm the one presenting it to you, right? Whatever we decide, if we going couples say, "Oh, we should have the same lawyer." Well, maybe if that's what you want, but I think it's even better if you can have a separate lawyer and a separate party look over her documents, and I'm going to have my lawyer look over what I present. If I presented this to you, you should absolutely have a professional look it over. And again, it shouldn't come from a place of sign here. It should come from a place of take your time. Take your time. Look over the document. If there's anything you don't understand, you may not want to talk to me about it. You may feel comfortable talking to a professional who can interpret the jargon and say, I think this is what Marcus means. Let's ask him. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I want to ensure that she has money so she can go to college. And this is how I intend to pay for the college. Is that acceptable to you? And then the lawyer and you can look at each other and say, yeah, do you want that, Miss Hutchinson? He's saying he's willing to set aside this much money to make sure that because you haven't worked the duration of this marriage and you don't desire to work and you want to be a stay-at-home mom with the kids, he's saying he wants to set XYZ dollars aside to make sure that you can continue that education and get a higher education to ensure that the day if you decide to work again, you can and you're not starting at entry level. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
And that's what
Maybe
it is.
I should have had one of them.
I think we all should. I think today the law hasn't changed, right? The law has not changed since women's suffrage, right? The law has not changed. And I think people don't understand that. People don't understand, and I tell this to men: the law has not changed. The law, as it's currently written, is not beneficial to men, right? And a prenup, all it does is it evens the playing field. The law has not changed. We're dealing with a law so old that it comes from a place and time where women didn't have the right to vote, women didn't have the right to work, women didn't have a right to higher education.
Mm-hmm.
A woman going to college was considered taboo. And so you can imagine, of course, that woman needs to be protected. She absolutely needs to be protected because she doesn't have that many available assets and rights to her to be able that if I leave her, how is she going to survive? If I'm the breadwinner and she can't go to school, she can't attain higher education, she can't vote, the only job she can work are these minimum wage, underpaid jobs, what is she supposed to do? So it makes sense why the law was written that way. The problem is it's 2023 and the law has not changed.
Mm.
And it's still, and women today, they can vote, they can go to college, they can start businesses, they can close businesses, they can sue, they can run Fortune 500 companies. Women, that line is now very blurred. And we are now a lot closer. We're not there perfectly yet, but we're a lot closer to true equal opportunity. But the law has
Kyra
not
was saying
changed
something
with
about
them.
living trust. What's a living trust?
A living trust is a trust that can be amended while you're alive. And so you can get rid of it and amend it and change it while you're still living. Unlike an irrevocable trust, once it's set in stone and it's finalized, you cannot change it. It's in force until the day you die.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Say the second one.
An irrevocable trust.
So if I set up an irrevocable trust, I'm 58 now,
mm-hmm.
and just say I live until I'm 70, but at 67, I want to change it. I can't.
You cannot. It's irrevocable. It's set in stone. I know a mother, she's in her 40s right now. She put irrevocable trust on all her children. She regrets it to this day because all her children have taken different life paths to the direction that she wanted for them. And so, but she instilled an irrevocable trust that she cannot change. She can't amend it. And so she has left an inheritance to all her children. But she realized as her children matured and as they got older and as they took different paths in life, that all her children are not deserving of what she left them, but she can't change it.
Okay, my question, because now my mind is racing, because a lot of this stuff I didn't know nothing about, and I have no problem saying I didn't.
That's fine.
And because I'm a good steward over what I have, I'm learning now that I may not be as good a steward as I think I am, because I didn't know about all these trusts. Right. We're going to have a conversation outside of this, Marcus, because my mind's going 100 directions now. Because and I'll say this, I had an amazing friend that just passed in November.
My condolences.
Her and her husband. I'm gonna do this without crying. Her and her husband had amazing businesses, and at the end, they went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You should go in hospice." And she looked at her husband and said, "Honey, I want to go home." And she told her husband, "Get out a pen and pad." She said, "I'm no ways giving up. But we have to be good stewards over what God gave us." and they wrote out, she had them write out everything, the way the business is handled, the back of the business, where the money flows, where the receipts are, everything. And she's been like that since I've known her. She she's just that kind of woman, amazing woman. And I honored her for doing that because then she passed. And he doesn't have the worry of not, which he's a good steward too. He was a man of his house. But there were certain things she did that, to make things flow because she was the lady of the house. But he doesn't have those worries. He was able to bury his beautiful wife, all the legacy. He didn't have to worry. The life insurance thing? As soon as she passed, I called my son-in-law who sells life insurance. I said, I need some more life insurance. Yeah. That's my mortality. When I'm losing friends, I lost 6 people in 6 months that were key in my circle. My life insurance needed to be higher. Yeah. These are things we don't talk about at church. No. We don't talk about prenups. No. We don't talk about living wills. I've been sick. I was sick during the pandemic. I had COVID as well. The first thing they asked me, do you have a living will? I was like, no. I have everything written out at my house. My children know where my life insurance is. They know exactly what I want, how I want it. But there was still other stuff I needed to do. Marcus, you are on here today to educate us, not to be fearful of legal documents. Why are we so fearful of legal documents?
I think great question. And again, my condolences to your friend and the family, praying for them. That we are afraid of our immortality. You said it earlier. We're afraid of thinking about the end. No one wants to think. It's not a good topic. It's not a comfortable subject, but it needs to be had. It desperately needs to be had. And I commend that couple for having the conversation and breaking out the pen and pad. But for those watching and those that are in good health, I think we need to start a little bit earlier than that, because some of us would not be granted that opportunity to say, hey, I'm on my deathbed, or I'm sick, or I'm ill, or I'm close to the end. Let's figure it all out. A lot of us do that, right? The breadwinner of the home, the man of the house, right? He's as he's rolling into his grave, he's throwing his keys to the next person before he falls in, and just, good luck with the businesses and the assets and everything. That's too late, right? That's too late. We got to start a little bit earlier. But we're afraid of our own immortality. We are afraid to talk about this with our kids because we think our children can't handle it. Your children are grown adults now, and we're still that's my baby, right? That's my child. We need to change that. Kids are more incredible and more resolvent than we give them credit for. And you'd be surprised what a child can understand, right? And so it is paramount in me, what I've experienced while dating. I encounter a lot of mothers, and I have no problem with mothers who have children outside of me. But the issue I have is when I come across these children, there is not much of a plan before I even got into the picture. And that is concerning. That is alarming. And if you had no plan until I showed up and then I get in the picture, then that is a trigger for me. And it begs the question, what were you intending to do? I'll give you an example. I courted a lady a year ago. We only went on like 2 dates. But she had an 18-year-old son that was about to go to college. She had no plan, no money, nothing set aside, nothing. And she has an 18-year-old, and she just celebrated his 18-year-old birthday. And I asked her, I said, what's the plan? And she confessed on our first date, there was no plan. She had nothing, this young man, and he wanted to be a chef. He wanted to go to culinary school. So I said, the only thing you can do is sign him up for Job Corps. And she immediately did that when I said it to her. But what did you do for 18 years? Well, I wanted a child to stay in a child's place. I think your son and your daughter can handle that conversation earlier than 18 years old. They can handle the conversation about money a little earlier than 18 years old. When I was living with my parents, I was probably 14. Um, I I grew up with my biological father and my stepmother. Um, I I visited my biological mom, but I lived full time with my father and my stepmother. I remember going into the kitchen and there was a piece of paper on the kitchen table. It was a Roth IRA 401k bank statement. I had no idea what it was, and I had no idea what I was looking at. And what I was looking at was an investment portfolio that my parents had set aside for their children. Um, and I was reading it and I understood what I was reading. And I always kept that in the back of my mind. So when I became older, I realized that piece of paper was an investment account that my parents had set aside money for their children. And so, why was no one having this conversation with me? Right? Because I know what I'm looking at. I can understand what I'm looking at, but because no one talked to me about it, I didn't realize that the document I was looking at until I grew up what that was. But I knew what I was looking at. It was a statement, and it had some numbers. It had some very high numbers on it, right? And it had my siblings' names on it. So I knew what I was looking at. Why didn't no one have the conversation with me? Because they thought I was a child. I could have handled that conversation. I was ready for that conversation much earlier than my parents allowed me to. We need to have those hard conversations. We need to talk about what you just said, where the life insurance is. What is life insurance? Why do we need it? Why do you need it? We can have those conversations earlier and break that cycle. That is a mental block. That is a fear that we have made up. It's not real. It's not real. Have the conversation. Your kids are more resilient than you give them credit for.
Kyra, thank you, because do you know Kyra?
I do.
Because she is, her little fingers is going. Hello, Kyra. And I'm gonna friend you when I get done with it. Thank you for coming, because I mean she's typing away. Um, I always learn something new from you. Always. I watch all your videos. Look, I went on YouTube, subscribed. I'm a member now. Look, look,
Thank you.
because I just think that you'll say, "Hi, Kyra," what nobody else will say. And I think I've had a month, y'all. So y'all walk with me.
Take your time.
I think that you are a great representation of a Black man that is preparing not only for your future, for your children's children's children. And there is scripture that speaks of you. So if nobody's told you today, I think you're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you are incredible for appreciating me, noticing me. I really appreciate that. I I appreciate you, sister. I can't thank you enough. My old pastor, previous pastor, told me earlier on when I was in my 20s, he no longer is in this church. He gave up the church to be with his family. But he said to me something that has stuck with me ever since. And he said, your ceiling, wherever you stop, wherever you pass the buck or the baton, wherever you are in life, wherever that line is, that's your children's starting point. Your ceiling is their floor. So wherever you stop at, that's where they have to start from. So you want to ensure that you raise that ceiling as high as you possibly can in your lifetime. So, because that is the starting point of where your children are going to take off from. That is where they start. Now, they may have another mile, they may have 10 miles. That is all depending on you. And so you have to push. You have to push that ceiling as high as you can because your future is counting on it because that's where they start from, wherever that is. So make sure your ceiling's very high because that's where they're gonna start from. That's where they're gonna begin. That's where life begins. So make sure it's high. And that's what I live by. I live every day to serve and give back. People always inbox me all the time, Marcus, how can I do this? How can I do that? How can I do this? And I always link them to my show because I'm not just talking to talk, right? I'm talking because what I do is no secret. What I'm doing, the things that I'm doing, the real estate, the ATMs, the cannabis, it's all public. But I want to help you. Just look right here. Here it is, one place. You don't have to Google nothing. You don't have to go nowhere. I had a gentleman who was a famous news anchor. He did a review on my podcast. And he watched a lot of episodes because I would see the comments pop up. And he came back, he left a video review and he said, you could get a master's education from watching my show. You could get a master's degree because I interview topics that help us. I talk about the things, like, thank you for pointing out, that no one else wants to talk about because it hurts. The church doesn't want to talk about it because if they said some of the things that I talk about sex on my podcast.
Me too.
Right? We talk about that because it's not happening. It's not happening well. So why isn't the church talking about it? Why are we so terrified to talk about it? It's not talked about enough. And so people are just kind of left to their own devices to kind of figure it out. And we end up making huge catastrophic mistakes. In the past several years, I can't tell you how many women I've encountered with an STD. We're not talking about sex. And so people are figuring it out the hard way.
Ooh. Somebody has a call. Minister Destiny Joy is on tonight because that's a topic for another day. You coming back, Marcus. That in we go up. We're not gonna open up that can tonight. She said, "What is a Roth account?"
A Roth account is a type of investment account. That's all it is a tax shelter, right? There's traditional and there's Roth. And so a traditional IRA, that's what we're talking about, individual retirement accounts. And so a Roth IRA is one type of tax incentive, and a traditional is another type of tax incentive. A Roth IRA allows you to invest your money and pay taxes on it now so that you don't have to pay taxes on it later when you need it and when you're withdrawing from it. A traditional IRA is you put your money into this account. The account or the investment builds income and it grows and it grows and it grows. And now you are retired. And so now you're going to start taking withdrawals to live off of that money. Well, since you deferred the taxes to later on, now you get to pay taxes on it when you're withdrawing from it. And so financial aficionados, they give you the tools and they tell you the difference between the two. And typically we were offered traditional IRAs. And then the introduction of Roth became this huge thing because it changed the tax bracket for a lot of people. So, Ms. Hutchison, you are an example of what most people go by, right? Most people expect to make less money when they retire. And then there are other people who expect to make more money when they retire. And so hence the reason why those tax havens are different. Because if you are on the traditional path, you're going to work a traditional 9-to-5 job, you're going to work all the way up to your 30s, and then you're going to retire one day. And then you're going to have less because now your job income is gone and you're living off of your Social Security and your pension and your IRA money. You're probably going to make less money in your retirement age. And so a traditional might be better, or a Roth might be better. But then again, what if your income is what if you said about me, I'm on a path to influence, right? I'm on a path, a trajectory to wealth. And so, is it better for me to pay the taxes now? Because when I retire, I don't want to pay taxes then because I expect my income to increase. And so, I don't want to be paying taxes on the higher amount of my earning potential, right? Which is my later years because I'm going to invest. I'm going to invest. I'm investing now. And so my income is on a trajectory to grow. So I need to pay taxes now when the money is the least amount, right? And when I retire, when I actually retire, now I don't have to pay taxes on that money again because I've already paid it on the smaller amount. And so that is a significant conversation that couples and people are not having.
Talking to you, I don't really know a lot.
Well, that's the thing. As a man, men need to surround themselves with good counsel, right? Jesus himself had 12 disciples. So nobody gets out of this alive. Nobody does this by themselves, right? And so if Jesus himself had 12 disciples, that's 12 different people. That's 12 different minds. That's 12. So it's important for us to surround ourselves with good counsel as men, as the caretakers of our home, as the leaders to our home. And it's not happening. I run into men often, all the time, and I ask them, "Hey, what?" When I sold insurances, I would ask them. I say, "Hey, what car insurance do you have?" And they would say, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know. My wife takes care of that." That is a mistake. As the leader of your household, you can't tell me who your insurance is with. You don't know if it's Geico, if it's State Farm, if it's Elephant, if it's the General. You don't know who your car insurance with. So you telling me, as the man of your house, if you get into an accident today, the first phone call you're gonna make is to your wife because you don't know what's in the glove box. That is a failure as a man. A man should be educated, a man should be informed so that he can lead his household effectively. And we're not doing that.
And this conversation has gone somewhere. It's really gone somewhere. I didn't even know it was going to go there. But you are such a great example of what a leader should look like. Because if in 2024, which is about to leave, most women who are working, supporting themselves, doing their thing, running businesses, would normally take that, what you said, as you being controlling. I didn't feel that way. But I know how it hits on a woman and I'm a woman that has to be a man on a daily basis. When I have to go out there and hit it, getting my customers, making sure my facilities are clean, handling our payroll, me and my business partner, making sure our customers are happy. I am the man in my house. But to surrender, it would be, tell me how a woman that's similar to me would surrender to you. That's why I said this conversation has really gone somewhere.
You have to trust me. You have to trust me. You have to. You have to trust me. Submission is not this blind thing, right? And I often hear women say that. Well, in order for me to submit to you, you have to trust me. Well, in order for me to build trust in you, I have to display the characteristics that you're looking for. You have to trust me, right? But you have to trust me with all of your heart. I don't want some of you. I don't want half of you. I don't want when it's convenient to trust me. I don't want that. You have to trust me. You have to trust me wholeheartedly to know that I am always going to lead our family in the best way possible. But you have to trust me. And I have to show you. A lot of people I hate this. A lot of people say I'm not performing husband duties as a boyfriend. I'm not doing girlfriend duties as a girlfriend. I'm not doing wifely duties as a girlfriend. That is a mistake, right? And no man is going to marry you with that. I'm not going to risk the institution of marriage on a hunch just because you told me you're a good wife. No man is going to risk his legacy on maybe you'll become the person I need you to after we get married. No man is going to do that. No job, and we don't live our lives that way. No employer is going to hire you because you said you can do the work, you have to prove yourself. You have to apply, and you have to show your employer what your capabilities are. But I have to trust you. So I say that to say that you have to trust me, but I need to display to you, and I need to show you within my own life the way I live my life and how I manage my life in a structured, organized way, right? And lead. Jesus never announced who he was, right? He never went into cities and he never said, "I'm the King of Kings, serve me." He never did that. He rode the back of a donkey, but his following presented who he was. You knew who Jesus was because of the works he did, the good works he did, the good service he did it within his community. He didn't have to tell you who he was. He never had to announce who he was. And he could have had all of that. He could have been riding elephants. He could have had palaces, shrines, and all of that. He didn't do that. His works led for you. And so be an example of what you want to see in the world, and people will trust you. But we live in a society that's full of hurt and full of pain, and I need you to get healed from that, right? I need you. If I'm talking to you, Miss Hutchison, I need you to heal from whatever's holding you back from trusting me. But once you trust me, you can count on me to know that I'll never do anything to harm you. And I'll give you a really drastic example with submission. And I think most people aren't here yet, but this is the level that you need to get to in order to allow a man to lead your home effectively. If I run in the house and I tell you, grab the kids and get in the car, I need you to just do it. I don't need questions. I don't need 21 questions. I don't need any of that. I need you to get in the car and grab the kids. That requires you to trust me. Because you know whatever it is, it's in your best interest. Because I just came in the house and just grabbed you and said, "Honey, I need you to grab the kids, grab your purse, and get in the car." You have to trust me to know that I'm not leading you astray. And on the way to the thing, once we're safe, I'm going to tell you what's happening and why we're doing this and where we're going. Sometimes it requires that. I need to know where we're going. That's not trust. You need to trust me. I need you to trust me. And I'll always communicate with you. I'll always tell you what's going on because you're my partner. You're not my enemy. You're not my slave. You're not my servant. You're my wife. I'm going to tell you. You're going to know, but you have to trust me sometimes. I I remember a woman that was sharing with me that she had a common frustration with her husband. She's now divorced. She had a common frustration with her husband because her husband would invest in real estate and he would buy multifamilies and commercial buildings, and she would get frustrated with him because he would never talk to her about any of those dealings. Well, are you a real estate investor? And she was like, "No." "Do you own any real estate?" "No." "Do you read books on real estate?" "No." So why would he talk to you about real estate? He needs to talk to someone who also does what he does. So as my wife, if you want to have that conversation with me, I need you, like Kyra Shackelford said, I need you to do a little bit of education on your own, right? Because if I'm doing these different things, I need you to advance your knowledge a little bit, right? I need you to want to have that conversation. But being with me, hoping that I'm gonna just teach you everything, that's a mistake. That's a mistake because I need effective counsel right now. I don't need someone that I have to get from the ground up and teach. I need you to do your part as well. I need you to participate in this. You're not my enemy, but I right now when I'm closing on this commercial building, I need effective counsel. And me talking to my wife who knows nothing about real estate is not an effective counsel. Now, if you want, I can pay for you to go to realtor school or real estate agent school. And now you can become educated in what I do. And then we can have those conversations in the future. But you have to become educated in the things that I'm doing if you want to have those discussions. But I need effective counsel. And currently, his wife was not it. She didn't know anything about real estate. So why would he talk to you? You wouldn't go talk to your dermatologist about cancer, would you? You need effective counsel. If you got diagnosed with cancer today, you would do what? You'd get a second opinion because you need effective counsel. You need all the data to make a wise decision. You're not going to go talk to the employee at Burger King about your cancer situation, are you? You're going to go talk to effective counsel. So my wife needs to want this. You have to want this if you want to have that conversation. So, did that answer your question?
That and about 75 other questions I might have. I'm just gonna be out. When I have one other person similar to you in my life, and when I talk to them, I have to breathe deeply. And I say that because I'm a boss who doesn't always want to be a boss, if you feel me. Yes, but until, so it takes me a minute. It takes me a minute because then I start to hear you. Yeah. But I don't only hear your words, I hear your heart. Because nothing you said is demeaning. And I'm saying this for a woman that's going to come across this. This, and I'm giving him his props. This is a man who's taking care of his business. And I got a comment in here before I finish my statement. This is my good friend. She says, and I need Desta to help me because I don't understand why. But the Bible says nothing better than the understanding. You know, it means no sex. And Marcus, me and you. This is me and you talking. Mm-hmm. Marcus does not appear to me, and that I know about him, that he is sleeping with the woman that he is courting until he's married to her.
Correct.
And I have asked him that.
Right.
But like I said, I'm a stalker of his stuff. And people that are, I just know that about you. So, Desta Joy, I love you. If you want to type in something else and tell us what you were meaning. And later on, Marcus is going to go back in the comments because I'm now asking all my guests to say hello to the Focus On and addressing, hello, Pharrell, how are you? Address some of the comments because they're hearing me, but they can hear it directly from you. Absolutely. You just don't see. Okay, the conversation's gone there, so we just going to finish it on out. Why don't you sleep with a woman before you marry to her?
Because once you remove sex, it allows you to focus on everything else. Sex can blind you from what you're truly after, right? That's why God doesn't condone it until after marriage. In order for me to truly get to know you, I need to remove sex. You remove sex from all your courtships and you will really find who people are. People say they end up in narcissistic relationships. Did you have sex first? Was the sex the bomb? Was it great? Were you digmatized? Remove the sex and you will really discover who people are. Because once you remove the sex, it allows you to see who someone really is. Who are you besides someone with a pretty face, right? When you remove the glitz and the glamour and the social media, who are you just besides someone that is sexually appealing? And you'll find that most people have nothing to offer. So remove the sex. I purposely do that because there's more to you. And I want to get to know the real you. The sex is a precursor, right? It's a afterthought. It's the cherry on top. It's not the actual cake, right? But in order for me to get to know you, I need to know you, and I need to see how you are and how you interact and how you move. And do you leave the toilet seat up? Do you? Are you clean? Are you nasty? Are you a giver? Are you active in the community? Do you help people? Are you charitable? Are you loving? Are you nurturing? But if we just go straight to the sex appeal and the sex, that can get clouded. That can get missed, right? The things that we often miss, the red flags, we miss those because the sex was great. Any idiot can have sex. Animals have sex all the time. They have sex and then they go off and then they leave each other, right? So remove the sex and you'll really see who someone is. You really see who someone is. And so that's why I practice it. That's why we should practice it. Every person I have courted, they don't get to see me in that way because I pay attention to things that most people miss. Prime example, I pay attention to medical, right? Your medical history. I dated a girl that great grandma, she just dropped dead one day. Grandpa suffered a stroke and just died. He suffered a stroke, caught dementia, and then he died several years later. Um the mother has the mother had two failed kidneys. One was partially functioning, one of them had failed. Um Now today both kidneys have failed. The mom is on dialysis. The sister, the aunt to the daughter that I was dating, the aunt has no immune system. No immune system. So the aunt has to get infusions, not transfusions. She has to get infusions because she has no immune system to fight bacteria and viruses. So she has to go to the doctor every 6 to 8 weeks to get these infusions into her body of medicine and antibiotics and all the things that her body can't naturally produce on its own. She has a older sister. She's had 7 children. Only 3 of them are living.
Mm.
So if I was just focused on sex, I would have missed all of that. That is a generational problem. That's in the DNA. Everybody in your family has a serious medical condition. So if I had sex with that girl, would I have noticed all of that? Probably not. We miss these things because we're not paying attention because we let sex dilute what we should have picked up in the beginning. It is absolutely crucial that we marry well. It's absolutely crucial that we marry well, but we have to focus. It requires focus. That's why I don't have multiple partners. I don't court multiple women because that's not focused. That's not focused. You lack focus when you date multiple people. I need to be focused. I need to be focused 100% on you and give you my undivided attention because you're worth that. And marriage is too important not to be focused. So people who want to fool around and they want to date and date and date and have 6 and 7 dudes on the roster, you're not focused, which is why you're probably not married.
I don't even know if Destiny Joy got her answer. But if you didn't, I don't know what else to say, Destiny. I don't know what we were talking about prenups.
we were.
But I think I didn't realize prenups were that intricate and that they were loving.
Yeah.
Honestly, didn't realize they were loving. If God ever deems that I get married again, that should be a conversation. I don't care if I have $10 or $1 million, because I have amazing children that I want to leave something to. My grandbabies, I have 9 of them. I want to leave something to them.
And then you encounter a man that says, okay, you have $10. I have $10 million. How can we build on this together? How can I support you? And it shows you who I am. Versus the guy that says, oh, all you got is $10. I don't want to really deal with you. Well, I just exposed who I am to you. I said this to a young lady earlier. She said that, she still wants to have a little money on the side, right? Every woman should have a little money on the side. Well, a well-designed prenup would alleviate that because you know exactly what's going to happen. So you would probably realize that I don't need to have any money on the side because all my needs are met because we discussed them earlier on. So there's no need for secret money. There's no need for stashes or hideaway funds or little accounts on the side because all your needs were discussed in the beginning. So you don't need to have a separate account in just in case, because you know exactly what's going to happen when just in case happens.
I just had a question pop in my head and I don't even know why. You're married, very well off. Marriage is kind of wanky. One of the spouses takes all the money out of the account, but you got a prenup. How does that work?
So give me that example again. I was reading the comment. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
Sorry.
Well off people,
Mhm.
there's problems in the marriage, and one of the spouses goes and takes most of the money out of the accounts, but there's a prenup in place.
Mhm.
What do we do?
So by law, if they are a joint account holder and they liquidate all the money in the account, there's nothing you can do on that end.
Ooh.
There's nothing you can do. If I'm a joint account holder, I saw it all the time when I worked in banking. Um, Fathers would have their wives on joint accounts. Fathers would have their sons on joint accounts. And one of the sons cleared out their father's account. There was nothing legally he could do, because that once he's a joint account holder, all the money in that account is legally his by the bank standards. Now, the prenup is the protection and the safety net to catch you. So if we are married and a spouse liquidates all the funds in that account, but the prenup says upon our divorce, I get 3% of all the assets and I'm worth $50 million. Where do you think I'm going to give the money back to you? So that's the safety net. Okay, you empty the account today, which had $1 million in it, but our prenup says I am to get, based off of your net worth, Marcus, based off of your net worth, I'm supposed to get 3% of that. So the money's going to come back to you either way. The prenup is the safety net that caught you. And because it was discussed, I may not have legal access to you right now because you are a joint account holder, but the money and what we discuss is going to come right back to me anyway. And we have to execute it anyway. So whoever initiates the divorce, the prenup becomes active. And now, hey, buddy, where's my money? I guess you're not as concerned anymore about the money I took out the account, are you? Because you know it's coming back to you because we discussed it in the beginning.
The prenups that, we see everything on TV, but the prenups that have, if the spouse cheats on another spouse, then and they're caught, then they don't get nothing. Is that a good prenup for you to sign?
So let's go back to the heart of the prenup. I want to protect you, right? We should be mutually looking out for each other's benefit. If adultery is not what you want and I commit it, that is a fair request. If you said that to me, Marcus, if you ever cheat on me, the prenup becomes active, or I'm gonna initiate the prenup. That's a fair request. Because what man or what woman would have a problem with saying, "Hey, if you cheat on me, I'm gonna activate this prenup," and then you say, "What? Why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? Let me cheat." What is the other conversation that needs to be had if you have an issue with that? But now you know the heart of me up front. If I have a problem with signing that, that tells me something about you, and that tells you something about me. If I have a issue with adultery, if I'm an adulterous man, if I'm a flirtatious man, if I'm always out there running the streets, right? And I have a problem with that, that tells you something about me up front. And it can
Tells
save a
me
lot.
we don't need to get married.
It does. It does. But if we do and I sign it, that also gives you the trust in me to know that, hey, he's the likelihood of him stepping out is probably 0 to none, because he knows what is coming if he does. So why do it? Is it worth it? Again, a well-designed prenup removes all of the blockers that we face in relationships. And it just allows us to focus on loving each other because we figured out everything else. So the only thing left that you and I have to figure out is the love. How do I love you better? How do I be a better husband to you? Because everything else has been worked out. The kids, the college, if you're a stay-at-home mom, how to take care of you, how I'm going to take care of you, how you're going to take care of how we're going to take care of each other, how we're going to progress. Are you going to stay here? Are you going to leave? Am I going to leave and go somewhere? That has already been talked about and discussed. So the only thing left to do is figure out how to love you better each and every day. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing left. How do I become a better husband each and every day? How do I become focused on my partner each and every day? Because everything else was talked about.
Wow. I think you should do a master class for some of the gentlemen. Some of the gentlemen, I think it would be good. Because I don't think all men are bad. I don't think all men have bad intentions. I think they all haven't had models of how they should live and love and marry. We want to put a positive spin because our men, we need you guys, we need our men.
Thank you for saying
that. Say enough. We need our men. So come forth, leaders. Come forth, husbands. Come forth, amazing dads. Every girl wants to go to a daddy-daughter dance with her daddy. Every son wants to drive his first sports car with his dad. It just makes me think my amazing mentor that's gone to sleep. I think my oldest son was 5. Wow. And we were at their house. They have a 100-foot lake behind their house. And her husband was standing out there in his shorts and a t-shirt, drinking a cup of coffee. And CJ was peeking up over the window like this. He said, "Mom, why is Mr. Tony out there smiling?" I said, "Because he's a free man." And that was the first free man he ever saw. First free man. A man taking care of his wife, his house. He was the first free man. And you are in line with a Mr. Derek Green, a good friend of mine who just lost his wife. Mr. Tony Rodriguez. You are in that line of men that I admire. So I admire you. I want you to know I admire you.
Thank you.
I admire you. So I just love you, Marcus. I can't even help myself. And this CBD thing, I need a class, something. Me and my daughter need to come talk to you.
I'd love to. It's again. See, it happens, y'all. I posted about it. It's on my podcast. So I interviewed the CEO and the company I partner with to offer these products. So it's on my podcast. If you have auxiliary questions or amplifying questions to that interview, I'd be more than happy. But go watch the interview and go see how he expresses how we help people. I don't have to lie to you, right? I don't have to. I'm not on here to make it up or tell you how we're helping people. I have a Google page for one of my locations. I'm working on the second Google page, but it's nothing but 5-star reviews. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you help people. When you serve enough people, people pay you for it. like when you just all I'm doing is just helping people live a better quality life, and people pay me for
it. And who wouldn't pay for that?
Yeah,
because I have neuropathy. Yeah, and I take gabapentin, and I'm a hardworking girl. I take it every morning, every evening, but it's something to consider.
I had a young lady that hadn't slept a decent night's sleep in over 30 years. And then she purchased some product from me. I gave it to her. I said, "How bad is it?" She said, "I haven't slept in 30 years." Like legitimately a solid good night's sleep. I gave her some of the gummies that we sell, that we make, and she's had the best sleep ever since. That's not an accident. It's not an accident. I connected with her because she posted on social media. She had posted on her page, is like, hey, I haven't slept. I have this whole week, I haven't slept at least 2 hours. She's just up. Insomnia, just kicking her butt. I give her some of my gummies and she was able to get a full night's rest. That's powerful.
It is. And we're going to talk about it. I have a daughter who's been sick since she was 3. She is 33 now. And if the body does not sleep, it does not regenerate, and she doesn't sleep, she could be up 4 or 5 days in a row.
Easily, yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to talk, Marcus. I need to help my baby. I told you, I learn something new every time I talk. We're talking about prenups. Look, we don't talk about not having sex before marriage, how to make some money, how to be an amazing man or woman. Where else can you go but Straight Talk Food for the Soul and get this? But you can go to Gentleman Style Podcast and get it as well.
Thank you.
I love you, Marcus. Thank you so much. Thank you for the encouragement before we came on. I appreciate you. So, guys, go to Gentleman Style Podcast. Go on his YouTube page and find out more. Marcus,
love to help.
If you would go back into the comments and say hello. Hello, Simone. How are you? All my friends are popping. I love you. My prayer partners are on to support me tonight. I love you. My children are on. Thank you so much for all your support. Well, what a way to end another episode of Straight Talk, Food for the Soul with Mr. Marcus Norman. Love you guys. Have an amazing evening. Have good service on tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.